Most revenue teams capture conversations, but very few know how to use them. You have calls, emails, Slack threads, support tickets, all this information that contains everything you need to know to understand the deal movement, the risk, the buyer intent, the product, the competition, but most of that intelligence and data never makes it into systems that actually drive some sort of decision. High-performing RevOps teams operate way differently. They treat conversational data as a strategic layer that is multiple, that powers forecasting, handoffs, risk management, and planning. And in this video, I'm going to break down how these teams actually use conversation data to run a tighter, more predictable revenue operation for revenue teams. Hi, my name is Jonathan Carford. Some people call me Coach K. I'm the VP of GTM Strategy and Marketing at Momentum.io, and I literally talk, eat, breathe, sleep, sell, market AI all day long. I also am the owner of the GTM AI Academy, where I've taught 10,000 plus revenue professionals how to use AI and GTM and AI strategy for revenue orgs. I've been doing that for 3 years and just love this content and what we can do here. I also was a customer of Momentum before I became an employee and love the technology so much I had to be here. So welcome and thank you for being here. All right, so today we're going to go over 4 main concepts, which is number 1, how to build a reliable data foundation by combining conversational data with CRM data. Number 2, extracting real signals instead of keyword highlights. Number 3, turning conversational signals into actionable workflows. And number 4, using conversation data to drive strategic and forecasting decisions. So let's start with number 1. So most, as you well know, if you've been in RevOps longer than a year, even now, pretty much every RevOps person or Salesforce admin or HubSpot admin I know has the struggle of having bad Salesforce hygiene and CRM data. So you have things like the dates when an opportunity became alive, you have like the deal amounts, but outside of that, you don't have a whole lot. Most companies have 30 to 50 fields and opportunities. Sometimes I've seen up to 75, half of which are always required. None of them get filled out because the salesperson puts in ... or NA, or they pick the first option in the pick list just so they can get on with their day. So the CRM becomes this graveyard of horrible data that you can't do anything with. Most high-performing teams that I have seen use some sort of mechanism to where they can alleviate the salesperson or the customer success person from being the bottleneck and the data provider to CRM. They let them do the conversations and build relationships, and they use AI and orchestration and automation platforms to automate the data into CRM so they don't have to worry about it anymore. So there's one of our products is called Autopilot Batch, where what we're able to do is go back through, like, let's just say we have a customer who has who's just brand new, has a call recorder, some kind of like Gong or Chorus. We're able to go back into their Gong or Chorus conversations and retroactively go through all the conversations, pull all of the data for their specific fields, come back and extract it, and then upload it to their CRM. So someone who thought they didn't have all their information lost due to or stuck in some sort of Gong platform or something, we can go in and extract it and then fill the CRM. So it's cleaned, validated, and inside of your CRM from the last year of conversation, then do an analysis on it using the new deep research product with Momentum. It's awesome. And from there are things inside of conversational data that is insanely powerful. An example is we had a customer who kept having churn problems and they couldn't figure out what was going on. They had some AI technology, not ours, but they had somebody else's AI technology. They had a customer success AI technology. They had customer success being very aware. The leaders were aware. They could not figure out what was going on. So we did the batch product where we took all the conversational data, we did an analysis on it, and we come to find out that they had something happening inside of the product that no one was catching, but it was a consistent theme. And every time within 2 weeks of someone complaining about this part of the product, they would cancel or leave the business. They never caught it, and AI did. So what we did is we set up a signal because we knew that was a historical pattern. We found that signal of people canceling, and then we made it a signal so that in current pipeline or in current customers, if someone had that concern, it immediately hit up everybody in the signal. So it automated a Slack message to the right people in product, in customer success, and sales to make sure everyone knew what was going on to fix the problem and make sure they were okay. Because the problem was a fixable problem with product, but no one knew it was happening, so they never fixed it. So that is one example of many of how you can use conversational data for very strategic means. Next is extracting real signals instead of keyword highlights. So in the past with different technologies, when you have a CI tool, again, like a Gong or a Chorus or Fathom, they were more based on keywords. So a lot of people are using keywords as the example of what an AI can go after. The problem is that there's a lot more context, and someone doesn't always say pricing when they're upset about pricing. They could say something else like, this is really expensive, or we don't have enough money, or some other phrase that doesn't say pricing, and if the keyword's not mentioned, you miss the signal. With AI, because you have these really smart models, like with Momentum, we use the latest ChatGPT 5 models, we use Claude, we use Cohere, we use a bunch of different products based on what the customer's wanting. And based on the most recent AI technologies, we're able to use the text so we can put in a prompt and can understand the context of the conversation so that keywords are not as important anymore because you can prompt it and use the context of the conversation, which is pretty cool. So what we're able to do is use that in a way so that not only is the conversation through Zoom or some video platform, but you can do it through dialers, you can do it through email, you can do it through your support tickets. Like anywhere you're communicating with the customer now becomes a signal rich environment to where you could prompt over it and have a signal based on any way that a customer is communicating with you. So that way a RevOps team has a full picture of not only the conversational data from calls, but also from, again, email, support tickets, and etc. If you're like me in sales, a lot of times, a lot of movement in sales happens in email, not necessarily in the conversation. So having that as another channel to get signal from is super important. Next is workflows, how to use conversational signals as a way to automate or actionable workflows. So there's a lot of times where people I hear all the time, hey, we need a dashboard, we need a visual for this. And visuals are good, and I'm not trying to diss on dashboards. What I think the problem is that what I'm going to diss on is when people think that dashboards are the answer to every problem, and they're not. Let's get an example with the sales process. Anyone who has a sales process in place has exit criteria for every stage of the sales process, meaning that the salesperson has to check off these checkboxes before they can move it forward from stage 1 to stage 2 and so on, which if you're a RevOps person, you know better than I do of what I'm talking about. So if you have an exit criteria, and if people are missing it, that means that you don't know what point of the process the exit criteria is coming in, or the salesperson may just put NA and move on. And so you're missing all this rich data. So if someone uses, like, for example, MEDIC or MEDPIC or whatever form of acronym you use as your exit criteria, you can automate it so that an AI tool like Momentum can automatically upload the data inside of your CRM to where you need it to be in the fields. And the other cool thing is you can make it so it becomes agentic to where the AI can recognize, number one, putting the information to the fields that you need, and number two, it can recognize and say, hey, we are at stage 2. We have all the information we need from all the calls, emails, etc. I can move this forward, and the AI will make the decision to move the stage forward from stage 1 to stage 2 because the exit criteria is there. So the workflows become actionable. And then what the AI can do is say, hey, to the sales rep, I just moved this from stage 1 to stage 2. You now need to go find these next 3 exit criteria items of a proposal, demo, whatever the case might be, and then auto suggest what content that could be. And again, Momentum does all this as well. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do so that you're no longer depending on the human to enter in the data and then to communicate it to somebody else. The AI becomes the mechanism of making things happen and then auto communicate to people. Next up is using conversation data to drive forecasting and strategic decisions. As you all know, most forecast tools, Clary, Gong, whatever tool you use, if you use your own BI through Domo or something like that, they all depend on data to inform the dashboards and forecasting of what the heck's going on. I've had this opinion where right now the forecasting really relies on subjective opinion of the salespeople. So you could say, hey, I feel like this is an 80% or this is 50% or whatever the case is. What's now changing is that AI has the ability to read all of the notes, all the conversations, all the emails, and it can give its own opinion of what the forecast could be. And then based on the amount of signal, both positive or negative, you can tell what is at risk. So you could have a thing like sentiment analysis where you have a sentiment saying, hey, we have all these cues of sentiment showing us that they're ready to buy, and we can start pulling the trigger to help push this deal along. Or the other way of saying, hey, we have a lot of risk here because they're talking about the competitors every single call. We've got a problem. So when you're able to take both of those things and to use it so the signal and the data from conversations becomes another way to analyze and to help you forecast, it becomes incredibly powerful because now again, I'm not saying the salesperson's opinion is not important. It absolutely is. But you no longer have to sort of rely just on the subjective opinion. You can also rely on an objective AI that can tell you from its point of view what's actually happening in the field. Because as you all know, if you're a CRO RevOps person, salespeople lie because they got to protect themselves or because they're genuinely excited about a deal that they hope that will go through that won't. So this is a good example. When salespeople get rosy colored glasses about whatever deal's going on, and you can have the AI actually listen and say, hey, is this actually a real deal? The AI can confirm it or deny it, saying, well, this is not a real deal because of these 5 signals that have happened in the last 2 months or 2 weeks or whatever the case is. So it's just another way to help you see what's actually real or not inside your business. So revenue teams have all the signals you have in your conversation. It's really about weaponizing it and unburying those signals and sending them to the right person so that you can make sure they get the the right information at the right time and actually take action on it. Momentum does that automatically. This is what we do at our core. We integrate more deeply with Salesforce than any other tech out there. And we are literally called Momentum because we create this velocity inside of your teams so your team can take some action and execute and close more deals. So excited. Hope this helps. Thank you.